But here is the point that I want to make in this video. No one talks about the most uncomfortable topics of what it takes to be in this industry, because we're really talking about financials, stability, and navigating a career that has completely shifted right now compared to what it was pre-2020. And the people that are talking about this and teaching it oftentimes do not have a current career being a performer. And it's very different now than it was before. So in this video, I'm going to give you an up close, real, honest, vulnerable, maybe even awkward, uncomfortable conversation. So you have the 3 elements that it's going to take for you to create a successful career in musical theater based upon your definition of success. And I'm going to share some personal insight. I'm going to share with you how I have been able to do this. And I want to inspire you to cultivate a career that works for you long term. So when you are someone like me in your 40s and fabulous, well, the time that I'm recording this video, 40s and fabulous, you can turn around and you can teach the next generation how you were able to do it based on your definition of success. Let's do it. Now, I'm going to be really honest with you. Number 3 is by far the most important, pivotal, crucial one. If you want to sustain a career long-term in this industry, it's the only way that I have literally been able to have a successful life, financial stability, and build a career based on my terms of success. And I'm going to give you personal stories. So make sure you are sticking around till the end of that 3rd crucial component. But I have to start with 1 and 2, because what you don't understand is building a career right now in this industry is so fundamentally different. And you have all the basic building blocks, right? You know about your headshot and your resume and your song, and you know about training, right? That's where everybody starts. But I am not everybody, if you haven't realized from all the videos that I post on my YouTube channel. And if you go to my website, the way that I've cultivated a life and what I put out into the world is very different, because I want you to have this information so that you really understand what it's going to take, or to get to where you are now, to the next steps where you want to go. So the first step here is to get laser focused on your desired work in your career that you want right now. This is really going to ebb and flow. I'll be honest with you. As you get in your 20s and your 30s and in your 40s and your 50s and your 60s and your 70s and your 80s, right? Sure, your 90s, like why not? Your career is going to shift and change, but wherever you are right now, whatever that point may be, whether it's your age, your amount of years young, whether it's where you are in your career, your skill level, it doesn't really matter. The point here is, what type of work do you want to do right now in your career, right? And please be non-judgmental when I ask you this question, to really brainstorm this. A lot of people, when I ask them on coaching calls, they will say, well, like realistically, or like in my dreams. Like, your dreams are dreams, but they can also be a reality. Don't we want to make our dreams a reality? Society has taught us this messed up mindset that our dreams are so far-fetched that they'll never happen. No. Do we all want to be on Broadway? Absolutely. Well, maybe not all of us, but like that's something that we aspire to be. But if your mindset is Broadway or bust, you are never going to make it in this career. And I know this is like an uncomfortable conversation to have, but I can't tell you how many people I have coachings with where all they think about is Broadway. That is great. By all means, we need to have that conversation. Let's make sure that we're submitting. Do you need an agent? What's your agent doing? Like, what is on Broadway right now that you really want to be seen for? Absolutely. But that's not the only option that you have here. What work do you want to do right now? Start with that. What stories do you want to tell? What type of theaters do you want to work at? What's the location? Do you want to do tours? Do you want to do regional theater? Do you want to move? Are you willing to travel? Do you want to do cruise ships? And then the next thought is, what kind of boundaries do you have? And what circumstances do you need right now with those jobs? Very different than pre-2020, which was show up for everything, submit for everything, right? Well, actually, it wasn't even submitting, right? It was showing up in person. And it was just do everything. No. We are no longer living in that time period. You can't physically now just submit for everything or audition for everything. I mean, you can, but like if you have an agent, it's super helpful. But we need to get laser focused, because what if you submit for something, get called back, do the whole thing, and then they offer you it and you're like, I don't feel comfortable doing that show. I don't want to take that contract. That is not enough pay for me to live on. That they're not giving me housing and I need housing there. Or I don't want to be away from my family or my spouse or my partner or my friends. That's not going to give me mental stability and emotional stability. That's not going to work for me. We need to be upfront about that conversation right at the top, because you are in control. You are in control of your career 100%, now more than ever, with online submissions. And I'm going to get to that here in number 2, so just stand by for that, because this is going to blow your mind. But I want you to sit down and figure out, what are your boundaries? This is the first step, this is the first conversation we have, and they are very hesitant, but then after a while they're like, Ashley, I don't want to do cruise ships. Well, why didn't you say that at the top? Why are we even talking about a reel for a cruise ship, or songs for cruise ships, or where those auditions are happening, or what do we need to find that, let's not waste our time with that. And they're uncomfortable because I did cruise ships for like 3 years of my life. I met my husband on cruise ships we were both performers. I don't care what you did. It's not about me. It's not about your parents. It's not about your family. It's not about your mentors. It's not about somebody's career that you aspire to be. We can't do that. Your career is your career. Very different than anybody else's. So you have to be honest and upfront. So if you want to stay in your location, right? I have a couple of clients that just want to stay in their location wherever they're located in the world. They don't want to travel. Great. So we can cut out all these other auditions and not waste our time and energy and our money on the ones that aren't even going to serve you. Let's move on to the ones that are. So let's get laser focused on that type of work that you want to do, because what this is going to do is give you a lane to go down, rather than just throwing spaghetti at the wall. So the next step then is to say, okay, these are the roles I want to play. These are the stories I want to tell. This is the type of work I'm looking at, right? And it doesn't mean like Broadway only, right? But it really means being honest with yourself. And then where are those auditions being had? Okay. Where are they happening? And if you don't know, you got to find out. What I want to show you here is the power that you have of saying, this is what I want, this is what I don't want right now. Can that change? Absolutely. 100%. I recently told my agent I don't want to be submitted for cruise ships, because the past couple of years, I decided, I travel quite a lot. I'm bicoastal. My husband and I are bicoastal. And I decided that I really didn't want to be right now, like this year and next year. I don't want to be away from my husband that long for a ship. As an example, a Broadway national tour, yes, absolutely. Let me give you another example. I have a couple of clients that we're specifically geared and focused for them on finding jobs that include what they really need right now to get them from where they are to where they want to go, which are jobs that have a longer term contract, more than a month or two. They provide housing, and they provide enough money that will pay for their food, their basic living expenses that they have, because that's what they need right now. And I had a client that really, we sat down and we had this conversation, and I said, great, what types of jobs are you looking at? It needs to have pay. It needs to have housing. It needs to give you some stability for as long as we can get. And then we literally started looking at jobs. We found them exactly where they were for her. And within a couple of weeks of working with me in my program, booked a 6-month contract with housing, with pay, and just living her best life, because she needed that at that moment. So you have to decide what you need, and you need to be laser focused on it, because what that is going to do then is start to trickle down into all of the next steps that we're going to talk about now in the second crucial step to having a successful career in musical theater right now. Step 2 is crafting your online presence. I know you may not like where the industry is going with everything being online. Love it, hate it, it doesn't matter. There is something so powerful now that you have in your hands. Well, I would My phone is my camera, so I would hold it up for you, but my computer's right here. This is your access to wherever you are in the world to start moving forward in your career, okay? And let me be honest with you here in this moment. I never had this. When I first moved to New York City in 2005, after I graduated with my bachelor's of music and musical theater from Oklahoma, I had to move to New York City because that's where auditions were, right? And I would get Backstage printed. I don't even have a version of it anymore printed, but she was printed. Now, what you get access to is before you even make that move to New York City, if you haven't done it yet or you're in the process, you can start submitting and auditioning right now. You do not have to be in the city. Is it beneficial? Yeah, absolutely. But I have clients all the time that don't live in Boston. I don't live in New York City 24/7, right? It's not something that brings me complete joy. Am I there quite often, months on hand? Absolutely. But you can audition and submit for Broadway, off-Broadway, national tours, regional theater on your casting profiles. So what we need to do is take what we talked about in step 1, right, that you've brainstormed, and put that into step 2, which is your casting profiles, your website, your social media, your YouTube channel. I know that you probably don't want to build the whole social media out. You don't have to, but you need to be present and visible. Think about it like this. It's your free opportunity to network with somebody. Let's say you're submitting online, and because we can now in this day and age, someone sees your work, it comes across their desk, whether it's a casting director, whether it's, the director's casting it, whatever it may be, and they see your name, and their jam, their party that they hang out is Instagram. And they go on Instagram and they type your name in. What do they see about you? It's going to be very personal. It's going to be an extension of your talent, and it's going to shift into your personal self, who you are as a human being. We did not have that when I first started. We did not have that before, so that really didn't matter. We're living in a different world. And if we ignore the power of social media, you're ignoring the opportunity to showcase more of not just who you are as an artist, but a human being. And there's power in that. So think about cultivating your online presence in a way that feels safe to you, a way that you feel comfortable with, but in a way that says, hey, I showed up at your audition because I submitted to you, or I showed up in person, whatever it is for you. I'm really interested in this job. And then you have a coffee chat with them. They saw your talent, they saw you sing, they saw you dance, they saw you act, they saw you do your thing. And then they have a conversation with you to see if would you be someone they'd be interested in working with. That happens on social media, whether we believe it, agree with it or not. Doesn't mean you have to hide who you are. A lot of people say that, filter out your Instagram, all those social media for actors classes, and they tell you, to filter out who you are as a person and to have only who you are up as an artist. No. Post about the things that you're doing, but you can post about things that you do as a human being because that is interesting. If you're comfortable with a producer, a director, a casting director, a choreographer, a musical director, an intern, whoever it may be, if they show up at your Instagram, your Facebook, if you have TikTok, and do they want to have a coffee chat with you? Do they want to enjoy spending time with you? And so you can hate it all you want, but it's real now, and it's very important, and it can be a make or break situation. Not about your likes or followers, but about your visibility. What happens when they Google you? What happens when your website comes up? Right? What's on there? Is it in addition to what you've shown them? Or is it still that portfolio style website, where it's like your headshot and your resume? They already have that. Don't waste your opportunity for them to see your visibility online, to see an extension of what you did in the room, to showcase how you can be a collaborator, to showcase who you are as a human, what's important to you, what type of work have you done, what lights you up, what other interests do you have as a human in this world. And that is completely different than it was before, and it matters. So you need to build out your casting profiles specific to what we talked about in 1, your social media in a way that feels comfortable and safe for you. I'm not saying show up 24/7, but I'm saying build it out, right? Be visible at all of the parties in a way that you feel comfortable. Have a website, claim your real estate. You can do it for free. Trust me, I teach all of my clients, if you don't want to pay for a website, let's do it for free. Let's get this done. There are ways that can do it. You just have to figure that out. And then to make sure that you are utilizing everything, every possible aspect that you can. And that's what I would start with right now. All of the auditions are online. 99.9% of them. You can find them, you can see them, you can most of the time submit for them, and you can get the information that you need from anywhere in the world. So build out your online presence. It's absolutely important now more than ever, and it will make or break your career because it is not going back. It is only going forward. If you're union, if you're equity, you can now submit a lot of video auditions if the contract allows it. We're talking Broadway, we're talking regional theater. You can submit a video for the open call now. So we're not going backwards. We're only going forward with this online digital side of who we are and what we do. And you got to learn to love it, and you got to learn to work that part of the business. Step number 3 to the crucial part of having a successful career in musical theater is by far the most important. So if you made it to this point, are you scamped on the chapter just to get here? Woo, this is going to be important. I got to take a sip of my coffee before we dive into this. No one wants to have this conversation about the financial instability of what it takes to build a successful career in musical theater. What often happens is when we are in our 20s, maybe even creeping into our 30s, you know that phrase, money doesn't buy happiness. Well, when you get into your 30s, and especially when you hit your 40s, if you're still in this career, you realize the second half of that was missing, which is money doesn't buy happiness until it does. When we're in our 20s, we're coming off of high school or college or undergrad. We can sleep on couches. We don't really need a lot. We don't have a lot of bills. We don't have mortgages. We don't, desire things in life because we don't know what those things are yet. We can live off of pizza. We can live off of ramen. We can get crafty. We can still get discounts. Maybe you still are on your parents' health insurance or cell phone, right? We're not thinking about retirement. Then your 30s roll around. Then you get into your 40s, and it is either, I'm going to be very honest with you in this part of the conversation, it's either make or break. It really truly is, because if you're at this point in the video, you are serious. And so I'm going to give you a serious answer. The only way that I have been able to sustain a life and a career and be successful in musical theater is to diversify my streams of income. If you rely on just your performing income, you're going to hit 30 and it's going to be a very different story. And then you're going to have to find a job to support your life because you need things like healthcare, and you're starting to think about retirement, and you're starting to think about, I don't just want, a crappy small apartment with 10 other people anymore. And you're going to want more in life. And money does supply that. So we have to start thinking beyond just what we see on social media and what we see on Broadway, which is somebody, they're making like thousands of dollars a week, they're on Broadway, and then they jump to another contract. That is such a small percentage of us in this industry. Do we all hope that happens? Absolutely. But what do you do when that Broadway contract runs out? Let me give you a great example here. You know what happened in 2020 when everything shut down? Everybody was on the same level again because there was no Broadway, there was no regional theater, there was nothing. All of us were here. How do I make money? Because I have to start dipping into my savings. I don't know when the next job is going to come. I cannot perform on stage. What do I do? 2020 was the year that I took everything I had learned in my lifetime being an entrepreneur and just did this. Because I was ready for it. I want you to be ready. So I want to teach you how to think like an entrepreneur. What we need to do is really start to think about whatever age you are, whatever point of your career is, we need to think like an entrepreneur, and you need to think like the boss, the CEO of your business. And we have to focus on financial stability in passive and in active income. So if you could never perform on stage right now, say we had another 2020, what would you do to make a living? We need to start thinking about that. What I did, and I have a list below of like the 50 ways I've made money off stage. Some of them are crazy. Some of them have little amounts of money. Some of them have big amounts of money. I'm going to put that list below. If you want to download it, you get a free PDF, check it out. But I want you to think about diversifying your income. So what other skills do you have other than performing? And I know that phrase that everyone says, everyone, where they say, if you can think of doing anything else than acting, then go do that instead. No! If you can think of other things to do than acting, great, do those things too, to support yourself financially. So we need to think about passive and active income, right? What other skills do you have? What other knowledge do you have? If I was starting my career right now, in this year, over again, the first thing I would do is, of course, start figuring out number one that I talked about, start submitting. Literally, I would start submitting immediately and navigating that as I go. Okay. And then I would build up everything I have online for networking, for marketing, to have my visibility. And then the third thing I would immediately get on is starting to build out multiple streams of income. Here's the hard part, and here's another uncomfortable conversation we need to have. Do you have to go to college? No. Do you have to have a certificate? No. Do you have to have a degree? No. Do you have to have many, many, many years of all of this training to be successful in musical theater? No. You don't. You absolutely 100% don't. But what you do have to have is an ability to get jobs that are going to help you continue on this track of being a performer. Let me give you some examples. And what I want you to understand when I lay these examples out is that my career has been very different than your career. This is just the path that I took and how it twisted and turned for me. When I first went to New York in 2005, after I graduated college, when I started looking for jobs, I realized that minimum wage, she wasn't going to cut it. And I didn't want to spend my days, 8 hours a day working a 9 to 5 or whatever it may be, because I needed to be in person to audition. Very different now. We don't have to have that. You can do a 9 to 5, but it has to be a job that's going to be flexible still for you to submit and to show up to those open calls. But honestly, most of the callbacks right now, the first thing is going to be a request for tapes or an EcoCast, or it's going to be online, majority of the time. So what I did was, when I first moved to New York, I started working at a temp agency. And I kid you not, I went from making minimum wage at any other regular job you would have to making at least $20 an hour at a temp agency because I had a college degree. And this was 2005. So my point here is not that you have to have a college degree. My point is, what skills do you have that you can get certified, that you can have a degree, or that you can have some type of credential that says you are an expert, you are certified, or you have done some type of training. That can be a college degree, that can be a certificate, that can be someone saying that you completed this one program, whatever it may be. But we have to acknowledge the fact that credentials matter in other jobs. So, do you like Pilates? Get certified in Pilates. Do you like marketing? Can you go take a marketing program or a marketing certificate, even at a college level? There are so many programs out there online that will give you the skills that you need, that you can then in turn say, I have been certified in this. And expertise matter. It doesn't have to be in theater or musical theater, right? Intimacy training right now is very, very huge. You can take training and say, yes, I have taken this training. I have completed this course or this program. Credentials matter for other jobs as a performer. What can you showcase that you're an expert in? Let's say you are interested in saying that you want to work for social media, for a theater, because you want to get into that sphere. Okay, so what receipts can you show that you're an expert, or that you have experience or skills or knowledge or results in that area? 100%. We have to show that. So you have to start thinking about building a CV outside of your resume. Start thinking about what other skills you have, what other ways that you can make money, And also think about investing in income-driven assets. And here's something that a lot of people don't want to acknowledge, which is how can you invest in things that are going to make you money rather than just spending money on things that it's not going to come back to you. And here's a great example. When I was in undergrad, this was a very different time. I'm going to be upfront with you and acknowledge that 100%. My last year in my undergrad degree, I bought a house. Again, totally different time period than we're living in now. I bought a house in Oklahoma, and I just sold that house now, 20 something years later. And then I took that money and reinvested it. If you're going to live somewhere long-term, maybe not New York, but can you afford to buy and invest in something that then will make you money? Can you have people live with you, right? Even if you rent an apartment, can other people live with you to offset that amount of money? Do you own a property, or do you rent from somewhere that you can Airbnb it when you're not here? I'm talking about things that are high level, but low level, do you work somewhere, or do you live somewhere that you have to mow your own lawn? Can you buy a very nice lawnmower, mow your own lawn, and then mow all of your neighbor's lawn the same day and make some cash? You have to think about being an entrepreneur long term and focusing on other things that bring you joy, other things that bring you happiness, other things that fulfill you as a human being. The idea that you're just going to perform on stage all the time is not reality. Will there be stints? Yeah. If you do a long-term contract, right? If you do a cruise ship, if you're on Broadway, if you've got a regional production and you're lucky enough that it runs for a couple of months. But what are you going to do on the in-between? This is the only way that I've been able to be successful, is creating my own companies, building out my businesses, figuring out streams of revenue that are very passive that I can then build on, that it's not really taking my time or my energy, and thinking like someone that is in their 40s and 50s, that is building retirement, that is building businesses that are going to continue to function long term for them, and that's going to give you stability and financial freedom so that you don't have to say and lie to yourself and kid to yourself that money doesn't buy happiness. Until it does. And there's nothing to feel guilty about by saying that to yourself. Because most of us, after we pass our early 30s, no longer want to live the starving artist life. It's not cool anymore. What is cool, and what you will discover as you get older, and especially as you hit your 40s, is it's cool to have investments. It's cool to have a retirement fund. It's cool to have other opportunities so that when you're not performing, when you go to those auditions, you're like, I really do want this job. Absolutely. I'm giving you 150,000% in this audition or this callback. But if I don't get it, I'll still be able to pay my rent. I'll still be able to have, a life that I find joy and happiness in. I'll still feel successful. And then I'll go on to the next audition. And the way that you can do that right now compared to what it was when I first started my career in 2005 is very different. You have more accessibility now than I ever had to having a successful career in this industry because of online technology and the advancement of casting profiles, websites, working online, working remotely has changed my life. It's given me the ability to build my business and my income and my, these types of videos so that I can still perform. And if I don't perform for a month, a year, whatever it may be, I'm still building a career in this industry. I'm still having a life that feels successful to me. And I don't have to quit doing what I love and being passionate about as a musical theater performer because I have to go figure out how to pay my healthcare, because I have to go figure out how to pay my bills, because I have to go figure out how to pay my mortgage or into my retirement. It's completely possible to do both, but you have to start off with step 1, step 2, and you have to build your financial stability and to be honest with yourself about what other things can I do? What other things am I skilled at? What type of businesses do I want to create? So that when you get into your 30s and into your 40s and your 50s, whether you're working for someone else or you're working for yourself, you still get to have a career in musical theater without quitting, without burning out, and without saying to yourself, I can no longer afford to do this, because the truth is that will be a tipping point when you get to be in your 40s. And I planned to never have to leave a career that I love. And this is how I've been able to do it, is financial stability. And it's possible. I am living proof. I have the receipts to show it. You can do it too. But let's be honest about that, upfront and personal, and say, I am going to be smart about this. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to get certified. I'm going to get my degrees, or I'm going to get training in this one thing so I can do this. And this is going to add another level of income. And then I'm going to build on that. I'm going to build on my investments. And I'm going to make sure that I'm taking care of myself financially so that I don't have to quit this career if I don't want to. And so that I can continue to say, I am a musical theater actor, actress, performer. And there's no shame in that. Because you don't need to put shame on yourself for building a successful career that makes you happy. And here's the thought I want to leave you with. When you get to be my age or older than me, what people think about you or say about you doesn't really matter. Because you know what? I wake up to myself every single morning saying, girl, you did that. I can go wherever I want. I can do whatever I want. I'm financially stable. I'm able to take off if I want to. I'm able to make my own decisions because I do not rely on anyone else, because I have spent my life celebrating the other talents and skills that I have so that I can build a successful life in musical theater based on my terms and my definition without judgment from anyone else. And there are people that will judge you. I'm sure you know. You have to live for yourself. You can't live for your family, your friends, your parents, your spouse, your partner. You have to put yourself first. That way then you can be of service to other people and encourage people to do what I'm encouraging you to do right now, is to live a life of joy and fulfillment. I hope this video was helpful for you. If it was, let me know down in the comments below. And if you have any questions, drop it in the comments below, and I will try my very best to answer every single one of them as best as I can here on YouTube. Cheers.